Ahoy! Salvaged Treasures has finally re-arisen from its long hiatus, with a brand new top-of-the-mast setup, and shall from here on forth be held to new, seaworthier standards. But enough about the build you don't care about. Today's figure happens to be the Power-Up Godzilla by Trendmasters. As per usual, any and all history and my personal opinions will be held until after the showcase. The Power-Up Godzilla figure underneath its armor features the standard green paint scheme found on many of the Trendmasters Godzilla figures, with grey dorsal spines. As you can see, however, this particular specimen happens to have blue spines, which is far more reminiscent of their Supercharged Godzilla toy. That figure in addition is paired with dark grey skin. Truly, Trendmasters is just a line full of mysteries. As for the articulation, it's fairly basic, with rotation at the head, shoulders, thighs, and tail. Nothing too fancy, but enough to impress a sea lass or two. The dorsal spines are not molded into the body, and thus there are seams where they're attached. I will say I've owned 3 of the figures that use this sculpt, and only one of them has ever had the spines nicely centered. One plus of these Trendmasters figures compared to the Bandai and Monster Arts is that the nails and the teeth are always painted properly. Well, except for their Varan. If you want to see that video, subscribe, hit that like button, ring that bell, and hand me a rope because I'm ready to keel-haul myself! While all of that is fine and dandy, the real showstopper of this figure are the accessory armor pieces. Each piece is in chrome and glistens excellently. The cannons on Godzilla's shoulders fire small plastic missiles, which can probably kill you if you're lucky enough. Every piece comes detached, and for the most part is easily removable once it's fully put together. The only exception I could find is the knee pads, which can actually be quite difficult to put on or even remove if you're a maniac like me and don't want to scratch the goddamn figure. I also occasionally have some issues with the chest piece leaning forwards. I fix that by applying a small piece of sticky tack to the place in question. Now let's sail on to the history portion of this video. There is none. This figure has no basis on anything except the excellently imaginative minds behind the entire Trendmasters line. As for the company behind it, they unfortunately went bankrupt before being able to release all of their planned figures, much like one of my other favorite Godzilla providers. I mentioned previously that I've owned multiples of this figure, and that only one of them has ever had the dorsal spines in a place I'd call ideal. I really don't know why this is such a problem. It seriously becomes an eyesore fast. Luckily for me, I never pose my figures, so I never even see the back, but I'm sure that someone who does might. As for the little history of my possession of this fine toy, this actually happens to be the very first Godzilla figure I ever owned. Well, more accurately, this is the first Godzilla figure I ever owned. She's a little worn from her long voyage, but I think she looks pretty okay for how long it's been. As for why the armor seems to have been infected with some kind of red tint, I really can't say. She was a hand-me-down from so very long ago that I don't even remember whether she came like that or was just exposed to too much sun on the deck, or who knows. You could say she had an integral role in starting my infatuation with collecting monster merch. Or you could say she's the very culprit responsible for the downward whirlpool of a lifestyle that I now partake in upon a floating amalgamation of wood, waves, and tetanus. But enough about the Salvagiers lore. Let us address the elephant seal in the room. A question you've all been wondering. Where's the seaworthiness test? How could Cyclone possibly finish the episode without letting us know just how seaworthy the toy is? Why haven't I killed myself yet? Well,
there are things you can't fight. Acts of God. You see a hurricane coming, you have to get out of the way. But when you're in a Jaeger, suddenly you can fight the hurricane. You can win.
Why haven't I killed myself yet? Well, no. Absolutely not. 0 out of 10. I have never in all my life seen something so unhydrodynamic. Get that out of my sight. Also, the seaworthiness test is bad. Spoilers.
See you at the next port.